What?
It's yours?
Yes, I put it for the next bus.
And what's this?
Yes, but I put it like this one for Moshe and Gola.
Yeah. Maybe.
I have to draw lots now. Which one goes for this class or what goes for that class? Okay. So we were explaining the Indian of Gorolas, the Indian of Girdle, drawing of lots. What is the significance of that? And why is it so much part of Purim, part of Yom Kippur? What does it mean? So we started to explain yesterday that the Gashmias, and it's a metaphor, obviously. So what is it a metaphor? The Gashmias, there's two ways to choose. When you're choosing between two things, one way to choose is that you evaluate the situation and look at, let's say what we spoke about yesterday, there are different jobs to be done. Who should do this job? Who should do that job? So we make an evaluation. This person is more intelligent, so they're more suitable for this job. This person is more skilled in a different area, so that they're suitable for a different job. This person is physically stronger, so they're suitable for something else. And basically, you make that judgment and you make choices on these logical calculations and logical evaluations. But when you choose through Geiro, which means you just pick out a piece of paper and whoever comes out on this piece of paper gets this job, whoever picks out that piece of paper gets a different job, this is something which there's no logic to it. It's just random. So when we do it, it's purely random, which means it just came out that way. We made up. We have a hard time choosing. So therefore, let's just take a piece of paper and whatever it is, that's what it's going to be. But when we're talking about Hashem, so again, with humans, it means that picking a piece of paper random is the mata. It's not logical, but it's lower than logic. It's just random. Whatever happens, happens. By Hashem, it's the Mailam HaSeichel. It's above logic. It's coming from a place that it's above logic. So basically, once Hashem chooses, then we understand and we can explain. Like, for example, mentioned yesterday that the land in Israel was divided in 12 Shvatim, and each tribe got a different part of the land. And how did they divide it? They didn't divide it by sitting down and figuring out, okay, so what does each tribe want or need, or what would you like? But they picked up pieces of paper, and that was from Hashem. So the way it's explained in Chassidus is, in general, why are there 12 Shvatim? Why are there 12 Shvatim? Why do we have to divide Yidden in 12 groups? There's enough division out there. Why do we have to add more division? Just say we're all Jews. We're all children of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, and that's it, without making more separate identities. So the answer is because the different Shvatim represent different missions, different avodah that we all have. In other words, the tribe of Yehuda has strengths in certain areas, and all those people that are for the tribe of Levi have strengths in different areas, and all those that are from the tribe of Naphtali have strength in different areas, and each one of us together, all together, we put all our strengths together, that creates the perfect, complete avodah that you didn't have to have. Like the harmony that's in a symphony, there's different instruments playing different notes, but all together, the sound is so much more beautiful. So the world needs everything. The world needs people that are learning. The world needs people that are working. The world needs people that have money. The world needs people that are stronger, people that are more sensitive, and people that are less sensitive for different kinds of jobs. You know, there's a person that they're meant to be a general in an army. You can't be a very sensitive person that if they see blood, they faint. It just wouldn't work out so well to be a general in an army if you're like that. On the other hand, to put a general of an army in charge of a kindergarten also wouldn't be such a good idea. That he'll give one shout and all the kids will fall off their chairs. That's not a good plan. So in the kindergarten, you need somebody who's soft and gentle and could shed a tear if a child is crying and really cares. But in general, it has to be somebody hard and tough. So you need hard and tough people for certain jobs, and you need soft and gentle people for different kinds of jobs, and both are necessary. And the same with everything else. So Hashem divided the Jewish nation in 12 tribes, means there are 12 general missions, if we put it that way. And as a result of that, Hashem chose that each tribe should be in the land that's conducive for them to do their mission. In other words, even though it's just a Gashmizdika location, a geographic location, but we know that the physical location, the geography has an effect on the people that live there. There's a certain connection between the nature of people in one country and the nature of people in a different country. And it has to do with if you live in the south, if you live in a high place, even a low place, you live in a cold place, you live in a warm place, everything has an effect on the personality of the people. So it's all aligned with each other, that this tribe that has this mission, has these strengths and these weaknesses, they have to do this avodah. So the most suitable place for them would to be on mountains. And most suitable place for a different tribe is in the south, and a different tribe is in the west. But why specifically each tribe has that mission that's beyond, that we can't understand. That's just something which comes from Hashem, from a place that's beyond not only human comprehension, any comprehension. Of course, it comes from a place which is, that's Hashem's choice. He chose this tribe to do this avodah. And the same as it trickles down to each individual. Each one of us has a specific avodah, and that's why we are who we are, and we were born in the time of history that we were born, and we live in the country that we live, because it has to do with the mission of my neshama in this world. So like I said yesterday, once I know that this is my avodah, now I understand what I need to do, what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. But why did Hashem, to begin with, designate me to do this avodah? That we don't know. Why did he designate someone else to do a different avodah? That we don't know. And not that we don't know because it's a secret, but because it's impossible to know, because it comes from a place which is Geirol, which is above and beyond logic. Yep.
Avodah like can change, like Hashem can place one of the one avodah like for the whole life, but we can change.
Generally not. And I can make a lot of changes in life, but all the changes have to be within the guidelines of whatever my purpose is. In other words, Hashem doesn't change his mind. If he creates me to do a certain avodah, that means that obviously that this is what I'm meant to do. How I do it, what way I do it, in what setting I do it, these are details that could be changed. But the mission, whatever that mission is, that's the way it is. That's the way it's supposed to be. So when we daven in the morning, I'm going to say Asher Matei Chalkeinu, which means thank you Hashem that I'm a Yid. My name Geraleinu, thank you Hashem that we have this heritage, that we are connected to Abraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, and Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, and all the Jews that have lived throughout the last 3,000-4,000 years. What are we adding when we say, and we're thanking Hashem for our Gerol, our lot? That means we're also thanking Hashem for whatever specific mission he gave me. I am recognizing that this is from Hashem himself, that whatever, we can't say the word reason, but to his choice was that I should do this, and I'm thanking Hashem. And that's always going to be my goal in life, which, number one, this is one of the strongest things that help people when it comes to jealousy. one of the negative character traits, where it says in Pirkei Avos that this really doesn't let a person live a peaceful life, is jealousy. I look at other people and I'm jealous. They have this, or they have that, or they have one thing, they have another thing. I don't have it. When a person realizes that everybody has what they need to have. And also, people would say, if I would have had this and that, and if I would have been in this and this situation, if I would have been in a different country or a different place or something else, born to a different family, I would have been this and this and this. But that's not what Hashem wants. Hashem wants me to do a specific avodah, and therefore there's nothing to be jealous of. I have whatever I need to do my specific avodah. And that should give me the greatest sense of pleasure and content if I know that I'm fulfilling what Hashem created me for. And that's what it means when we say, thank you Hashem for my lot. How does all this come together with Purim, with Yom Kippur? So with Purim, you remember from the Maimarim that we learned the idea that how does Klippa get sustenance from? Klippa means that it's impure. And if it's impure, it's not really a vessel to receive godliness. So how could Klippa get any chayas? So we learned in the last Maimer, the Maimer of Yom Asher, that Klippa gets chayas from Makif. Remember that. Makif means from the level of godliness, which is infinite, which is above logic and above calculations and above measurements. And therefore, even though Klippa is not a vessel to receive, but from there, the light of Hashem shines everywhere equally. So that's how Klippa can also get its sustenance. Like we gave the mashal, when the sun shines, it makes no difference whether it's a heap of garbage or whether it's a room filled with diamond and gems, the sun shines just the same. Because the sun and the light of the sun is not shining in a way that it's relating to each recipient according to their condition. It just shines. And whoever's out there could receive. And again, it doesn't mean chas v'shalom that there's anybody in the world that's getting something without Hashem knowing about it and planning. But again, it's like the metaphor. It appears, the way it comes from Hashem is as if it's makif, as if it's something which comes without calculation, without counting, without measuring, without being a suitable vessel. And that's how Klippa gets chayes. Haman knew that, when I say Haman, by the way, not necessarily we're talking about the person, the actual guy who was Haman. He was a regular, person, anti-Semite who hated Jews. But I guess it means his mazel, his spiritual source, which is planning all this, the Klippa that was behind it, the Klippa that was invested in him, knew that the Yidden are so much greater, and there's no way that Hashem would choose Haman over the Yidden. But what he thought was that if he draws down from this level in godliness that's above logic and above calculations and above measurements and above reason, and therefore there's room in that place that he should also win the war, and he should be able to defeat the Yidden. And that was the spiritual meaning behind the drawing of the lots. In other words, it was a method of drawing down godliness from a place which is beyond reason. And over there is hope that he could win the war and he can defeat the Yidden. At the end, what happened was that he was hung, and that same day that he thought was going to be the end of the Jewish people turned out to be the end of Haman and his 10 sons. That's why we say, it was turned around. It was overturned. That these gallows that he prepared to hang Haman, that's where he hung and his 10 sons hung, which means that this Goro that he thought, this is above reason, above logic, it's a place where everybody's equal. So from there, I can defeat the Yidden. Hashem showed us, know that even from there, from that place, which is deeper than logic and deeper than reason and deeper than all sorts of calculations, even there, Yidden are superior to Kedusha, is superior to Klippa, and therefore Klippa will dominate and Kedusha will be destroyed. So when we say that we're celebrating the Yontif because of Purim, yes, the whole Yontif revolves around Purim. It revolves around the gorel, around the idea of the lots, which means it's about drawing down godliness from the level that's above logic and above the level which is infinite. And I would think that from that level, Yidden are really equal with everybody else. Kedusha is really equal with Klippa. So the Yontif of Purim shows us that no, even when you bring down godliness from that level, clearly, outwardly, it looks like that. But in reality, Hashem chooses Kedusha over Klippa, and Kedusha will dominate over Klippa, and Kedusha will destroy Klippa. Now, I don't know if you're following me or not. I can't tell. I'm looking for signs. Did anyone understand anything that I said here today? I know you understood the word Kedusha and the word Klippa and the word drawing of lots. But you understood the point?
Yeah.
So this explains another thing. Look at number 15. This is the Gemara that we learned, where it says, Chayev Adam l'psumid b'Puria, a person should be drinking on Purim, not page 15, but number 15 in the first sheet. Person should be drinking on Purim. Adar lo yada, they should know the difference between Orah Haman and Baruch Mordechai, between blessed be Haman and cursed be Mordechai. I told you why it says those specific words, because there's a song that we sing after we read the Megillah. It's in every siddur, and the song starts with the words Shoshanas Yaakov. And in those words, we say, blessed be Mordechai and cursed be Haman. And here we're supposed to be drinking so much that we don't know which is which. In fact, if you ever bump into somebody who had a little bit too much on Purim, you'll probably hear them trying to say, okay, so which one is it? They are mixed up. They won't know if they have it straight. But the question is, how could that be? On a holy day, a yontif, we're going to be saying, cursed be Chas v'Shalom Mordechai and blessed be Haman. Doesn't make any sense. You can be as happy as you are. How does that lead to cursing, so to speak, Kedusha and blessing Klippa? Doesn't make any sense. So based on what we just explained, if you look at the words again, you'll see a different meaning to these words. Of course, there's never a time or a place to say otherwise. It's always Kedusha we embrace and Klippa we reject. But we drink to the point that our rejection of Klippa and our acceptance of Kedusha is above logic, higher than logic. So read the words again. That the blessing of Mordechai and the cursing of Haman, which means the blessing of Kedusha and the rejection of Klippa, should come from a place within me that's lo yada, beyond logic, beyond reason. It comes from the depth of my soul, and therefore I reject Klippa in the most absolute way. And that's why the Simcha on Purim is also an unlimited kind of Simcha, because on Purim we bring out the essence of the Neshama.
Can you explain to me?
Okay, let's start from the beginning. Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim es haaretz. So when Hashem created the world, okay, it's going to be too long to go back so far.
Yes, I did.
You're talking about this last part?
Yeah, the reject and.
In other words, when we say blessed be Mordechai and cursed be Haman, basically Mordechai represents Kedusha, Haman represents Klippa. And we're saying blessed be Kedusha. Kedusha should multiply, should be a lot, should spread in the whole world, and Klippa should be rejected, should be destroyed, should be eliminated. But on Purim, we reach a point that when we say this and when we live this, it's not just because we understand the quality in Kedusha and what's wrong with Klippa, but it comes from, which means it's a logical approach. But we're saying, Adar, it comes from a place in me that's higher and deeper than logic. That the essence of my neshama, deeper than logic, accepts Kedusha and rejects Klippa. And that's what happens on the day of Purim.
That's why it's not like a Yom Tov, that you're not Shabbos.
The reason why it's not a Yom Tov, we explained before, because it's a Nes Malubich B'Teva. So because the Nes happened in an ordinary way, so therefore we also conduct ourselves. We explained before, could be you missed that class, that it was an infinite light, but it's malubish in nature. And therefore, we also don't change the way we act. We're acting in a regular way. And in this regular, normal way of conducting ourselves, there's an infinite light that shines. Yeah.
So we're saying that even though, because when we say Purim, we're living like from the essence of our neshama, the idea that we should bless Kedusha and curse Klipa, in that case on Purim, it doesn't matter if we say.
No, we don't say. That's what I'm saying. No one Chas Hashem would bring out of the mouth the words, blessed be Haman, or the opposite. But so what does it mean that you don't know the difference? Not that you don't know the difference, that the difference that there is not coming from knowledge, but from deeper than knowledge. But of course, I'm only rejecting Klipa and I'm only loving and embracing Kedusha. To be a little bit more specific about the parallel between Yom Kippur and Purim, how does this now connect to, okay, this is Yom Kippur, how does it connect to Purim? I mean, how does it connect to Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur is atonement. Yom Kippur is forgiveness. How does it have to do with the Goro? Again, the same thing. When Hashem created the world and set up a system, this is good, this is bad, for this you get so much reward. For that you get more reward. For this you get less reward. For this, there's punishment. There's a whole system of how things are set up in a structured way, in an orderly fashion. And therefore, if a person does an Aveira, there's certain consequences. Person does a mitzvah, there's certain reward. What happens on Yom Kippur? A person did an Aveira, or 2, or 3, or 10, or did Averas his whole life. And on Yom Kippur is asking Hashem for forgiveness. And Hashem says, I forgive, I'll delete everything that happened. And it's as if it never happened, and the person's forgiven as if you're starting a whole new life. How does that make sense? So from the point of view of logic and reason, in fact, it doesn't make any sense. Person did this and this, or did a virus his whole life, imagine, so extreme, and then one day it comes and says, I'm sorry, and it's as if nothing ever happened. So the answer is because this union of kapara, forgiveness, is coming from a place within Hashem, which is infinite. And in the infinite, there are no rules, there are no regulations, there are no limitations, and therefore there's no past, present, or future. It could be erased as if it never happened, and there's no punishment, there are no consequences, there's nothing, because the infinite, all barriers and all rules and all regulations and all limitations just fall to the side. So therefore, atonement, kapara, also comes from this place which is infinite. And really, on a personal level, that's where tshuva comes from as well. We spoke about this in Yom Kippur. Some of you were here on Yom Kippur. We learned about this also, that according to Chassidus, what happens on Yom Kippur? That's when the yechida, the deepest part of the neshama of a yid, is revealed. So in the more external parts of the neshama, then we can do damage. We could do spiritual damage to the neshama in some way. We're lacking in some way. And it becomes very difficult to, how could you change things? If a person did a certain Aveira and they did damage to the neshama one day or the second day and the third day, or sometimes their whole lifetime, how could they in one day just turn everything around if nothing ever happened? And the answer is because there's a part of my neshama, which is yechida, and that part of the neshama, let me just give you an example. You had a Hayom Yom. One of the Hayom Yoms it was one of the questions that I asked was, but it says that a person who is coarse and unrefined doesn't feel their own coarseness and unrefinement. Reminds me of a story where somebody once came to a chassid, and he said, it says in Chassidus specifically, it says in Shulchan Aruch, and even more in Chassidus, that when you don't wash negavasa, there's a certain impurity on your hands. And he said, look at me, I haven't washed negavasa in who knows how long, I feel no impurity. So the chassid said, that's the impurity, that you don't feel any impurity. In other words, the reason why you feel no impurity is because it's tumah. And that when a person is numb, chas v'shalom, numb, something happens and he's numb, a person is God forbid, paralyzed and numb, you don't feel pleasure and you don't feel pain. You don't feel anything. The person could be cutting with a knife and you don't feel it. So basically, it could be impurity on the person's hand, which is something extremely negative, and you say, I don't feel anything. So the answer is that is because it's impure. So if a person does an Aveira and they become impure, and especially if they do it twice or 3 times or 10 times, how can they come to change and want to love Hashem? I mean, every Aveira you do makes you further from Hashem. How does it all turn around? And the answer is because we have a Yechidah. The Yechidah is the essence of the Neshama. The Yechidah is something which is also infinite. Its love for Hashem is unconditional. There's nothing in the world that can cause any damage to that part of the Neshama. And when that part of the Neshama is revealed, everything can turn around. And that's where Tshuva comes from. So Yom Kippur is a day that, number one, on a personal level, it's my Yechidah that's revealed. And on Hashem's level, it's the infinite light of Hashem that corresponds to Yechidah that's also revealed. And that's where atonement comes from.
And what is the connection to Purim?
Purim is the same thing. It's the Yechidah that's revealed on Purim. And we know that the Yidden in Purim had Mesiras Nefesh. They gave up their lives in order to maintain their identity as Yidden and stood up again for a whole year, stood up against Haman and all his decrees, and they didn't stop. And that's because the Yechidah was revealed. And from Hashem's end, like we said before, Gorel means that the level of godliness, which is infinite, which is above logic, was revealed. And as a result of that, anything that came from Klippa was wiped away, was washed away, was eliminated. And the Gzeira was totally nullified. So basically, Yom Kippur and Purim are both days that the Yechidah is revealed on a personal level, and on Hashem's level, it's the light of Hashem that's infinite. I see everybody's still a little bit blank. Let me try again something. I just want to show you this on the board. So in the Neshama, we have 5 levels. This is the highest level. And these fights every day. Two down. Why is it even here? That's it.
But I see it in the dressing room. We have more.
In the drawer? Okay, let's try him. Miracle. In the Neshama, you have Yechidah, that's the first level, 1. And then you have 2, 3, 4, 5, as you know, Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya. So this is the 5th level, the highest level, Yechidah. When you talk about Hashem, there's also the world. Atzilus is 1, Bria is 2, Yitzira is 3, Asiya is 4. What's 5? I meant to do, okay. Going too fast. Where's my eraser?
In the drawer.
Okay. I've officially asked my professor today. Okay. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5. And what's 1? 1 is Keser. Keser, which is of infinite. In other words, these 2 correspond to each other. This is the infinite realm in the soul. This is the infinite realm in the spiritual realm. So this is where atonement comes from. that no matter what you did, doesn't matter, it gets erased and totally forgiven. And in the neshama, no matter what I did, it has no effect on me. I can change everything, turn everything around, and everything is forgotten. It's also because of the Yechida. So on Purim, normally for the Yechida to be revealed, it says in Tanya, when a person is, God forbid, challenged and told, either you accept their religion or they'll kill the person, then the Yechida jumps out. But in normal circumstances, Yechida is only revealed by tzaddikim, the great people. But there are 2 times a year when the Yechida is revealed naturally, and that's Yom Kippur and Purim. And the difference is that on Purim, it's revealed in a way that you have to fast, you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't go to work. It's a day which is the holiest day of the year. You have to remove yourself from this physical world to be able to connect to the Yechida. On Purim, it's like that, like the miracle. It's Yechida, but at the same time, I'm eating, I'm drinking, I'm acting regular, no malach, I can do whatever I want. I can write, I can drive, I can spend money, I can do 39 malachas. It's because the Yechida is revealed in a way that I'm able to maintain the natural, limited world, and at the same time have this infinite light shining. Yep.
Does that mean that somebody that doesn't like keep Yom Kippur, the Yechida is not revealing?
The Yechida affects everybody. Depends on how much I observe the Yontif, how more revealed it'll be. But of course, Yechida is revealed by everybody. The only question is to what degree. In fact, there are many people that their journey of tshuva began because of Yom Kippur. In other words, something happened, they went to shul on Yom Kippur. Why did they go on shul on Yom Kippur? The real reason is because the neshama, the Yechida, is pulling them. I mean, we see today that there are thousands of people, or hundreds of thousands of people, that during the year they won't go to shul, or they're not so involved in Yiddishkeit, but there are a few times a year that they are involved, and one of them is Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The deeper reason for that is, even though they'll tell you other reasons, they'll tell you, oh, it's tradition, I like the cantor, he sings very nice, or other things, but the real reason is because the Yechida is revealed, and the Yechida is pulling me to the shul. And very often that begins a big change in a person's life. So that's why where we see, I'll get to you in a second, where we see the advantage of Purim on Yom Kippur in order to absorb the Yechida, in order to have this Yechida, it's through removing myself from the physical world, through fasting and tshuva, crying, and so on. On Purim, it's through simcha, eating and drinking, adar, just the opposite. Yes, Najib.
What about when, so people go to shul just on Yom Kippur, etc. You're saying he pulls them there, but what if that doesn't cause them to start changing their life? Like, what does that mean for them?
It's in other words, the Yechida is revealed, but depending on what I do, that'll determine how much I'll consciously feel the Yechida. The mashal that always comes to my mind is that right now, there are radio waves coming through this room. True? Do you hear anything? No, not me neither. Not music, not reports, not news, nothing. If I take a radio and I turn it on, and I set on the right channel, I'll hear music, I'll hear news about what's going on in the war, or here and there. So when I turn it on, does it come to the room, or that's when I can hear it? If I have the right device, then I can hear it. If I don't have it, the radio waves are here, but I can't hear it. So Yom Kippur, the light of Hashem, which is infinite, is shining. The Yechida in me is shining. If I observe the laws and customs of Yom Kippur, I can feel the Yechida more consciously. And the same with Purim. The Yechida is shining, but by doing the mitzvahs of Purim, reading the Megillah, and giving Shalach Manas, and giving Tzedakah, and saying Alanisim, and doing all the things you're supposed to do on Purim, of course, Simcha is the top thing, then I am making myself capable of being more conscious and feeling in a more conscious way, the Yechida. So the infinite light of Hashem, that's what the Geirah represents. And that explains what was Haman's plan, and why Purim is connected to the Geirah, and why it's connected to Purim, and so on. Just start again from the beginning. Not understood? Okay, this is what.
It's okay.
It's these concepts are new concepts, and you have to chew them over a few times. I believe it's not because we had a teacher who used to say to us, I know you don't listen the first time that I say it, so pretend that this is my 500th time that I'm saying it. But here it's not because of listening, here it's because the concepts are new and it's very brief. We're not learning the whole mimer, just the main point. But nevertheless, we hear it again and again, you chew it over, it starts becoming a little bit understood.
Which mimer is it?
This, it's in a lot of places. Every Rebbe has a mimer that talks about this concept. The mimer that the Rebbe said, the famous mimer, that after that mimer, Stalin died, that mimer explained the whole meaning of Goro. That was what I told you now was from that mimer.
What mimer?
It's in Chelik Hay of my Moram of the Katan of the Rebbe. And it's the Purim mimer in Chelik Hay, Tavshin Nun Aleph. What? No. People who are Gero. I think I gave it out to you, right? Do you know which part is not understood or is just not understood?
I didn't understand the part that both Mordechai and Ramon, like, what does it mean that Adar and Adar?
So I said, Adar literally sounds like you don't know the difference, and you can end up saying Baruch Haman and Chas v'Shalom or to the tzaddikim.
But before, like.
But the way we're explaining it, is that's not what it, some people understand it that way. You should be so drunk that you don't know how to say it right. But still, how can it be expected of a person to bring out of his mouth such words? So I'm explaining, it doesn't mean that you say the opposite. You say the right thing, but it's lo yoda, meaning it's coming from a place that's not yoda, not knowledge, it's higher than seichel. It's coming from yechida, which means it's higher than seichel. My rejection of klipa and my love for kedusha is unlimited because it's not anything which is based on seichel is automatically limited. Because if it's based on logic, someone can come along with another bit of logic and explain it differently, and you could lose it. But anything that comes from the place in the soul which is deeper than logic is unlimited, and that's what it means. Lo yada, my love for kedusha and my rejection of klipa comes from a place which is higher than logic.
That it comes from the etzem.
Etzem, right? And that's what it means. Mishenichas yayin yotzasod. The secret, meaning to say the secret part of the neshama, the part of the neshama that's always hidden, which is the essence of the soul, that comes out through Simchas Purim and through the drinking of the wine.
Can you say that last sentence again? Because you froze, Rabbi
Tomorrow's
Majeski.
another day. If Mashiach comes before tomorrow, then you'll understand everything automatically. If not, we'll do it over again. Think about it, organize your questions, and we'll try to do it again tomorrow.
Rabbi Majeski, can you say that last sentence again? Because you were frozen on the Zoom. You can't hear me? Okay.